Hi guys, good evening and welcome back once again to The Edward. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I will be discussing what I thought of the latest and very entertaining installment to the Scream franchise, Scream 7, which is now out in theaters finally. You know, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this movie now that I've seen it, and I'm more than happy to share them with all of you guys. But I just wanted to say, where was I going with this? I had a brain fart. Don't you hate it when that happens? Anyway, before I go on and I talk too long, too much, of course, please be warned, this is a spoiler, and I mean spoiler-filled review. So if you haven't seen Scream 7 and you plan to watch it later this weekend, during opening weekend or whenever, you don't want to keep watching or listening to this video, as I will be discussing spoilers, character identity reveal, character deaths, shit like that. That being said, you have been warned. Let's dive right back into it. First and foremost, I was fascinated how they were going to handle the return of Stu Macher to the franchise. Matthew Lillard was awesome, as always. It was so great seeing him embody the character of Stu once again. I was really curious as to how they were going to pull this off. You know, he was left out of all the trailers and the marketing for this film. They confirmed his casting over a year ago, maybe almost 2 years ago. It was definitely before the film went into production. And I was like, how the hell are they going to pull this off? Like, is he going to appear as a hallucination or like Billy did, or is it going to be something else? And then the film comes up with a very clever, very creative way of doing it. AI. They didn't actually use AI. I want to make that clear. I don't think they used any AI in making of this film, but Stu appears because of AI. Someone uses his voice, his likeness as AI to taunt and terrorize and stalk Sidney. And I'm like, that is brilliant. What a perfect way to bring Matthew Lillard back into the franchise without retconning one of the most iconic deaths in the Scream franchise, which is Stu's death in the first Scream. One of my personal favorite kills, when the TV lands on him and crushes his head. Because of this movie went the way it did, they didn't outright confirm or say that Stu was definitely still alive. They teased that he could have been, but then the question would be raised, where the hell has he been all this time? Why did he sit out the entire franchise until now? But obviously that wasn't the case. Someone was just using his identity, his likeness, to taunt and terrorize Sidney. And apparently it was her neighbor and her accomplice, this guy she met at the psychiatric ward. Their motives were a little unclear to me at first. I thought they would have a bit more of a personal connection to Sidney, but I guess she read Sidney's book, Out of Darkness, to escape an abusive relationship, and good on her. But she did kill her abusive husband because she read that book. And I guess she thought Sidney had turned her back on her fans or her people, and this was her way of getting back at Sidney by threatening her daughter and going after her daughter's friends and whatnot. And then I like what the Meeks girl, what's her name? Jasmine Savoy Brown's character, Randy's niece, the girl, she points out that this isn't about this murderer, this Ghostface killer is not obsessed with the stab movies or movies in general. They're obsessed and are dealing with Sidney. And she was right, because that would explain the neighbor's motivations altogether. So in terms of reveals, I'm pleased they didn't reveal that Stu was one of the two Ghostface. Or three, I should say, because technically there were three of them. They just killed one right away, which was a nice touch, I must admit. But then, of course, when they unmasked him, everyone's reaction was like, who the hell is that? But it was the guy from the coffee shop, as Sidney pointed out. A couple things I didn't like about this movie. As awesome as those opening kills were in the opening scene, I did not like seeing the Macher house burnt to the ground. This has been an iconic staple to this franchise since the first film. It's been revisited several times throughout the course of this franchise. You know, used in Scream 3. It appeared in Scream 5. And it's just such an iconic location. To me, you don't get rid of something like that. But I guess for the sake of the plot or the story, they decided to do away with the Mocker House by having Ghostface burn it down, which I guess was meant to be more symbolic than anything else. Still, I didn't like seeing the house burn down. I was pleased, however, that they did not retcon the first Scream by revealing that Stu had been alive all these years. And I was pleased with that because I was a little afraid we were going to get a post-credits scene stinger at the end there revealing that he is alive. But thankfully, we didn't get that. I sat through this whole movie from beginning to end. And besides the funny stuff with the Meeks siblings trying to do the report, we didn't see any indication that Stu was still alive. So for now, he's dead. For now. Unless they bring him back in an 8th film or something. I don't know. But I gotta say, I really enjoyed this film overall. Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox are magnificent as always. The newer cast members did a great job as well, too. I love the nods and the references to the original Scream film, having the boyfriend suspiciously appear in the window of Sydney's daughter's room. The song Red Right Hand playing during the curfew montage. And just little nods and references here and there was just really nostalgic because it's like Jasmine Savoy Brown's character points out, it's all about nostalgia, and this movie hits you right in the nostalgic feels. So I liked that detail a lot. I think two of my personal new favorite kills in this film, possibly the whole franchise, and there have been some gory creative ones, was the opening one when Ghostface stabs the guy right in the brain, right in the head, in the temple, and his eye turns inwards or outwards, and it goes, that was awesome. And then killing the poor fanboy, who was, of course, admittedly suspicious, but it would have been way too obvious if it was him, when Ghostface lifted him up on the spike of that beer spout, impaled him, and then beer came pouring out of his mouth. This was a good film to watch with a full house because everyone had the best reactions to some of the more creative kills, to Sydney first appearing, to Gail running down the killer. We all clapped during that scene. That was great. And it was just fun overall. This movie had had the formula that makes a good Scream film, which is it's good pacing, entertaining, creative kills, intense sequences, good cat and mouse scenes and sequences, some frightening moments that make you go, yay! Not overall super scary, but it was still damn entertaining. And that's what I go for, of course, is entertainment. A scary movie doesn't necessarily have to be scary in order for me to like it. It does help, obviously, but as long as I'm entertained by it, that's what matters to me. And this movie was definitely very much entertaining. I would love to see this at least one more time in theaters. So yeah, I overall really enjoyed it. I was quite pleased with what we got. I'm so glad they kept Stu dead, as much as I love Matthew Lillard, and I do, obviously. There he is. I was happy they didn't retcon anything, so I was pleased about that. I feel like Kevin Williamson did a wonderful job both in writing and directing this film. So hats off to Mr. Williamson and the whole cast and crew. Everybody was fantastic and did a wonderful job. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it despite not liking and losing the Mocker House. I did not care for that. But at least we can just rewatch the Scream films where it does appear in. So at least there's that. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this movie as much as I did. What did you think of it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on it down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Scream 7 is now playing in theaters. Have a good rest of your night, everybody. And of course, until next time, what's your favorite scary movie?